Let's start with Astra, the sales chief of staff. This thing was hyped as the ultimate deal closer. They claimed it would automate 80% of sales work. Perplexity's CEO even threw cash at it, calling it genius. But the tech wasn't the problem. The founders were. They got into a massive ego war behind the scenes. One wanted to grow fast, the other wanted to go slow. Instead of selling software, they were screaming at each other. While they were fighting, clients got nervous. Big companies don't trust startups with their data anyway. But when the bosses are at war, trust hits zero. They only managed to sign 2 enterprise clients. 2 clients for a company valued in the millions. They burned through their runway, fighting over the steering wheel. It's like driving a Ferrari off a cliff while arguing about the radio. A classic case of founder divorce killing the baby. The platform shut down in July 2025 without a whimper. Investors lost everything because 2 guys couldn't agree. It proves that artificial intelligence can't fix human stupidity. Next, at number 8 is Subtl.ai. This one hits hard because the idea actually made sense. They wanted to use LLMs to search private company data. Imagine chatting with your own PDFs and Excel sheets. They raised a seed round and felt like kings. But then they hit the GPT wrapper wall. Everyone and their grandma started building the same thing. OpenAI released updates that did exactly what Subtl did. Suddenly, their proprietary tech was a free feature elsewhere. They tried to pivot to a hardware play with earbuds. Earbuds that could dictate better than Apple, but who buys random earbuds from a desperate startup? They burned through their cash trying to outrun giants. Investors saw the writing on the wall and fled. By late 2025, the funding dried up completely. It's the classic 2025 trap. Building features, not products. If ChatGPT can do your job for 20 bucks, you're dead. They learned that lesson the hard way. Now they're just another dead link on Crunchbase. Coming in at number 7 is Tally. This is the most ironic bankruptcy on the entire list. Tally was an app designed to manage your debt. They raised $172 million. Their pitch was simple. We kill credit card fees. They would automate payments to save you interest. Millions of users trusted them with their finances. But the business model itself was bleeding cash. They were lending money to pay off other debts. When interest rates skyrocketed, their math broke. The debt manager couldn't manage its own debt. They tried to raise more cash, but VCs said no. The funding winter of 2024 and 2025 froze them out. They shut down, leaving users scrambling. Imagine a diet coach who dies of a heart attack. That is basically what happened here. It wasn't a scam, just a terrible business plan. They burned nearly $200 million to prove it. Sometimes, the app that saves you money is losing a fortune. Number 6 is Autonomy, the vaporware king. This company had the ultimate seal of approval. OpenAI and Microsoft backed them with a war chest. They raised over $200 million. Their pitch sounded like science fiction came true. They wanted to put large language models in cars. The idea was that AI could reason like humans. It wouldn't just follow rules, it would understand traffic. Imagine ChatGPT driving your family down the highway. If that sounds terrifying, you are not alone. They spent 5 years burning through piles of cash. They hired the smartest engineers in the valley, but the fundamental problem was never solved. LLMs hallucinate text, and that is annoying. If a car hallucinates a stop sign, you die. They pivoted from consumer cars to crash safety. Then they pivoted again to software licensing. Every pivot cost them millions in development time. By early 2025, the money was completely gone. They shut down the global operations overnight. There was no product to show for the money, just a lot of press releases and empty servers. The website was replaced by a single white page. A simple note saying, "We have ceased operations." Employees found out they were fired via email. Stock options they worked for became worthless paper. It is a stark reminder for the industry. You cannot prompt engineer your way around physics. Driving is about reflexes, not generating poetry. This was the most expensive science project ever. Moving on to number 5, Prophesee. This French startup had a truly beautiful dream. They wanted to give machines human-style vision. They raised 140 million euros. Their tech was called event-based vision sensors. Standard cameras take pictures frames per second. Prophesee cameras only recorded changes in the scene. It was faster and more efficient than anything else. Intel and Xiaomi threw money at them excitedly. They thought this would be the eyes of the future, but they fell into the classic engineering trap. They built a product that was impossible to sell. To use their sensor, you needed custom software. You needed engineers who understood neuromorphic code. Most factory managers just want a simple webcam. They don't want to relearn physics to check boxes. The sales team banged their heads against the wall. They had the best tech, but zero customers. They demonstrated it at every major tech conference. Crowds would gather and gasp at the speed, but when it came time to sign contracts, the buyers always went with the cheaper option. They burned cash, keeping a massive R&D team. When the 2025 tech crunch hit, they were exposed. Investors stopped funding science experiments. They needed revenue, and Prophesee had none. The company was sold for parts in late 2025. The patents were bought for pennies on the dollar. It is the curse of the deep tech pioneer. Sometimes being 10 years early is the same as being wrong. At number 4 is the BluSmart collapse. This story is a mix of incompetence and greed. BluSmart marketed itself as the green AI revolution, an all-electric taxi fleet powered by AI. They promised zero emissions and zero cancellations. Investors loved the green energy buzzwords. They handed over millions to save the planet, but under the hood, the engine was rotten. The company was bleeding money on every ride. The cars were expensive to lease and maintain. Charging infrastructure in India was a nightmare. But the real scandal was in the executive suite. Whistleblowers claimed funds were being diverted. Money meant for new cars vanished into thin air. The founders were accused of living like kings. They bought luxury villas while the company starved. While their drivers were struggling to get paid, the AI scheduling system was a total joke. It was often just manual dispatchers in a room. They were faking the tech to keep the valuation high. They claimed the AI could predict traffic perfectly, but in the monsoon rains, the system collapsed. When the truth came out, the house of cards fell. Creditors seized the cars from the streets. Thousands of drivers lost their jobs instantly. It turns out green AI is a great marketing hook, but it is also a great way to hide fraud. They use the planet as a shield for robbery. At number 3, we have Dunzo, the Google darling. This was supposed to be the future of delivery. Google led a massive funding round to back them. They raised $240 million. The pitch was simple: hyper-local, quick commerce. You press a button and get groceries in 19 minutes. They use AI to optimize routes and predict demand. For a while, it seemed like they were winning. Every street corner in Bangalore had a Dunzo driver. But the economics of 19-minute delivery are brutal. You need dark stores in every single neighborhood. You need thousands of riders waiting for orders. And you burn cash on every single delivery. While Google was looking at the AI algorithms, competitors like Zepto and Blinkit focused on logistics. They ate Dunzo's lunch by simply being faster. Dunzo ran out of cash to pay their delivery partners. They started deferring salaries for their corporate staff. The tech giant Google watched its investment evaporate. They tried to sell the company, but nobody wanted it. It is a lesson in Silicon Valley blindness. Just because Google writes you a check doesn't mean you win. You still have to deliver the milk on time. Now the blue and green delivery boxes are disappearing, and Google has a $250 million hole in its pocket. Number 2 is the Builder.ai scandal. This is one of the funniest stories of the year. Builder claimed they could build apps using AI. They had an AI assistant named Natasha. You tell Natasha what app you want to build, and she uses neural networks to code it for you. They raised $295 million. Investors thought this was the end of human coding. But then the Wall Street Journal started digging. They found out that Natasha was not really coding. Much of the work was being done by humans. Real people in India and London were writing the code. It was a classic Wizard of Oz situation. The man behind the curtain was doing all the work. They were selling manual labor at AI multiples. When you pay for AI, you expect instant results. But Builder customers were waiting months for apps. The code was often buggy and hard to maintain. It turns out human developers make human mistakes even when you pretend they are a supercomputer. The company faced massive backlash for the deception. It creates a huge trust issue for the industry. How many other AI companies are just people in a room? It is the digital equivalent of 3 kids in a trench coat. They tricked the smartest investors in the world by simply hiding the programmers in the back room. And finally, at number 1 is Rabbit Incorporated. This is the definitive tech disaster of our time. The Rabbit R1 was the most hyped gadget of the year, a bright orange square designed by teenage engineering. Jesse Liu, the CEO, gave a keynote like Steve Jobs. He promised it would kill the App Store forever. It used a large action model to use apps for you. We all ordered one, thinking it was the future. But when it arrived, it was a plastic brick. It couldn't set an alarm or order a pizza. It struggled to answer basic questions about the weather. Reviewers like MKBHD absolutely destroyed the device. It turned out to be a simple Android app. You could run the whole thing on your phone. But the real scandal happened inside the company. While the CEO was hyping Generation 2 to investors, the employees were not getting paid their wages. Staff went months without seeing a single paycheck. They were working for free to fix a broken product. The company had burned through its cash on hype. They spent millions on marketing, but zero on stability. Now, the Rabbit R1 is just e-waste in a drawer. It is a monument to the AI bubble of 2025. A reminder that a cool keynote is not a product. And you should never pre-order hardware from a startup. The rabbit hole went deep and it was empty. So that is the graveyard of 2025. Billions of dollars vaporized on hype. It turns out you actually need a business model. You can't just slap AI on a toaster and get rich. The easy money era is officially over. If you are investing in these things, be careful. Read the balance sheet, not just the press release. Because when the music stops, the chairs disappear, and you don't want to be left holding the bag. If you enjoyed this financial wreckage, hit subscribe. We cover the biggest money mistakes every week. Thanks for watching.